We've been having some trouble here, so I hope you can see me. Oh, dear me, dear me, dear me. Um, Welcome to Heart and Mind. This is being recorded, so it's okay if just experiencing serious technical difficulties here. So I apologize if you tried to get in and I wasn't here. I'm here now. Welcome to Heart and Mind. I'm Dr. Dina McMillan, and this is a really important one. So, in spite of the initial technical difficulties, this is one you want to bookmark because today we're talking about elements of mind control. Now, I promised you no more boring Tuesdays. Now, it was not boring for me when 5 minutes before going live, all of my systems shut down. I'm still not up on the Daily Cloud X page or on Naomi Wolf's usual X page. I apologize for that. I should be still okay on Facebook and my X and Rumble and Getter. So hopefully you can still see this. Sign in wherever you are so that you can make comments and ask me questions during the broadcast. We are on every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Daily Cloud, X, Rumble, Facebook, and Getter. And if you watch it recorded, it's also on YouTube. Now, what makes this show so different? The fact that I am a social psychologist makes this show so different. So, what's the big deal about social psychology? Well, social psychology, we study how the brain works, we study power dynamics, and we look at how people learn, how they're influenced and persuaded, manipulated and coerced, indoctrinated, and brainwashed. Now, I had somebody get upset with me about these evil scientist pictures I always post when I talk about social psychology. And it's true because I'm using social psychology for good. I'm showing you how you're being influenced, persuaded, and manipulated, and you probably don't even know it. I certainly didn't know it until I got to grad school and realized, oh, that's why that makes me feel uncomfortable, or that's why I think that way. But most of the time, social psychologists work on things like the slot machines to get you to stay gambling longer. They work on getting you to buy products that you don't really need or to vote for politicians you don't really trust. So, stick with me, kid. We're going places. Now, speaking of sticking with something, here's something everybody needs to have. You get your own copy of the Pfizer papers. Naomi Wolf, Amy Kelly, and the entire team of highly qualified physicians and scientists went through the Pfizer papers with a fine-tooth comb. They went through the papers that Pfizer wanted to keep secret for 75 years. They actually went to court to try to keep it secret for 75 years. Naomi Wolf and her team, Dr. Wolf is an amazing person. She's been doing great work for the last 30 years. She and her teams decided no way. And so they went ahead and went through the papers and they made it so that you can actually understand what was really going on and what continues to go on. Because COVID vaccines are still legal. mRNA technology is still being brought out and expanded. They're now trying to give vaccines to animals. And they said if the animal's vaccinated with this technology, it can transmit to the owners. A lot of sneaky evil stuff going on. So find out what it is. Arm yourself with knowledge. That's what this show is about. Speaking of arming yourself, today's topic, elements of mind control. Cue spooky music here. But the problem with most mind control is it's not spooky at all. It's a normal part of your everyday life, and you don't realize how it's being used to alter your beliefs and behavior. And it's why, as a social psychologist, I said it's really scary because we're all influenced by it. And by the way, one of the things, if you've not watched the show before, I always mention the first thing they said to me when I got to grad school at Stanford. They told us knowledge of a phenomenon does not make you immune to its effects. I was like, why am I learning this if it won't keep me safe? No, but I will talk to you about how you can stay safe. But first, we have to look at the most prominent elements of mind control that I'm seeing in everyday life that people are still not getting, still not understanding, and still not protecting themselves against it. Now, pay attention today or go back and look again. Next week, we're going to take what we talk about today and turn it into a game. Why? Not only will it make it fun, but it will increase the chances you'll really learn the information in the parts of the brain that awakened during heightened circumstances. I talk about heightened circumstances all the time. That's when you feel emotional about something or someone, or it's when you feel triggered. You feel fear, desire, anger, a desire to belong. All of those heightened primal feelings, if you don't have the information in those parts of your brain, even if you have it in the intellectual part of your brain, that's what you ever had this situation where you react to something and then later you say, why did I do that? I know better. I told myself I was never going to do that again. That's why. So one of the ways to get this information in the right parts of the brain is through activities. So we're going to have a lot of fun next week, and I'm actually going to show you how to apply the concepts that we're talking about today. So stick with us as we go through. This is going to be really exciting. Ever wonder why your brain feels foggy even when you're eating clean and exercising? It may not be burnout. It could be parasites. Groundbreaking research from Dr. Alan MacDonald revealed a direct link between chronic parasitic infections and neurological diseases like multiple sclerosis. Parasites can cause inflammation, nerve damage, and long-term cognitive decline. More reason to do a full body cleanse at least once a year. The wellness company has a solution for you. Ivermectin plus menbendazole, the gold standard parasite solution, now combined in one cleanse combo, designed to eliminate harmful invaders and support your immune system naturally. Medical grade, not some trendy herbal gimmicks. Fill out a quick intake form and get a 3-month supply shipped straight to your door. Maha is officially here, and the wellness company is making hard-to-get medications digitally accessible so you can live your best life. Head to dailyclout.health and use the code dailyclout to save $60 off, plus you get free shipping on all orders. Cleanse your body today. What we're talking about today, about elements of mind control. Why am I talking about it now? Because I was seeing some of the same things over and over again on social media. I mentioned before that a lot of the topics for my show come from conversations with people that I contract with through my business, Ethical Strategic Solutions, people I contract with as Dr. Dina McMillan, people I get in conversations with at the grocery store, or in this case, posts I was seeing on social media. I keep seeing this social media post over and over and over again. What do you call it when someone hears the truth, sees the truth, but still believes the lies? We call that indoctrination. And it is extremely important to understand why, when confronted with valid information, so many of us Just refuse to look, refuse to listen, refuse to absorb this important new information. Now, the good news is, let's start with some good news. The good news is that, gosh, over the last 20 years, we have made such progress in the study of the brain, probably more than the 30 years prior to that. And one of the things that's come about is the study of neuroplasticity, which is the understanding of how the brain works, how it's shaped, how it grows, how it declines. And what I say here, in light of what somebody said, what do you call it when somebody sees the lies, knows they're lies, but still believes them? Well, when we're talking about the brain and mind control, neuroplasticity means your brain can change its structure and function based on what you do, feel, and experience. Remember, and I'm going to talk about this a lot, in my training, in my workshops, in my seminars, I incorporate all of the steps of shielding and all of the steps of embedding that we're going to talk about today, but in a positive way, helping you get from a bad place to a good place as quickly as possible. It also includes learning and also unlearning. So any bad habit you have, any mindset that keeps getting you in trouble, you can actually unlearn that. And when they say based on what you do, feel, and experience, experience includes what you watch and what you read. That's really crucial. So what we're going to talk about today is mind control made simple, how it's done, and how you shield yourself. So think about it. Is there any aspect of how you think you want to change? We're going to talk about that today. And if there's a mindset or a belief you have that you know is flawed, but you still grab onto it, want to know why? We're going to show you. The American healthcare system is broken. Big pharma charges an arm and a leg for their products, while insurance companies are focused on growing healthcare spending. So I'm always researching ways to take care of myself naturally. And one of the most overlooked factors is improving your blood flow. That means more oxygen and nutrients to your brain, heart, muscles, and even places that need a little extra help as you age. I use Blood Flow 7 from Juvenon. It works by boosting nitric oxide levels 230% and opening arteries up to 62% to improve blood flow. With just one dose a day, just 2 capsules with or without food, it's helped improve my stamina, energy, focus, and supports my heart health, all without caffeine or stimulants. It's doctor formulated, scientifically backed with premium and natural ingredients. Look, I wouldn't share it if it didn't work for me. Go to www.bloodflow7.com/Daily Cloud or click the link in the description below the video to learn more today. Now, let's get started because we have quite a bit to go through. And as I said, you need to bookmark this, especially since we've been having technical difficulties. So a lot of my usual audience has not been able to connect with us, but that's okay. It's recorded. It's on Daily Cloud. It's on Rumble. It's on YouTube. So I will put this posted on X. If you weren't able to check in, if you weren't able to watch live, you can watch the recording, and this is something that's important enough. You need to watch it more than once anyway. Let's start with number 1. Your brain is complicated, but let's simplify it. Your brain processes information on 3 levels: through your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, and your unconscious mind. Your conscious mind, which is the neocortex, the frontal lobe, the problem-solving, language-based part of your brain, because It's you talking to you, and it's always going, and it's solving problems. And whenever it focuses on something, it starts trying to analyze and decipher what it sees and decode what it sees. It thinks it's in charge. Because of the fact that it's talking all the time, it thinks it's in charge, but not so fast. Studies of the brain have found that the conscious mind is basically responsible only for approximately 5 to 10% of the life choices you make. So it analyzes and makes decisions and makes rational, logical analysis and deciphers things, but it's also responsible for short-term memory and willpower. But look at the list of everything else. Your unconscious and subconscious mind, they fill in everything else. Your beliefs, your creativity, things that get you motivated, your emotions, all of that comes from a different level. And they always use an iceberg as an example because it's the most visual way to describe how your brain really works. So, again, when I mentioned that sometimes you tell yourself, I'm never going to do that again. If that situation happens again, I'm going to handle it this way. And then the situation happens and you handle it quite differently. Here's why. Because that part of your brain is not responsible for what happens. And often it goes into sleep mode when the other parts wake up. I talk about that a lot. And it's, again, one of the reasons I design my workshops and seminars the way I do, using movement, activity, NLP, humor, getting people to stand up or move around. All of that is because if I don't do it that way, then the information stays only in the conscious part of your brain. It is just, most of it just isn't there. And when it comes out of sleep mode, you're good, but until it does, you're in trouble. Now, what we're going to do this time, as I mentioned, because as I said, it's a lot of people are having trouble checking in, or you may be watching this recorded. Usually I talk about problems, and at the end of the show, we discuss how to protect yourself or how to fix it or whatever. We're going to do it a little differently this time. Every time we talk about an issue of mind control, a tactic of mind control, or an aspect of how the brain works, we're going to have the shielding strategy, the protective strategy, right after it. So, shielding strategy 1. So, looking at the fact that most of our decisions are made in our subconscious and unconscious mind, made with our emotions and our primal drives. What do we do about that? We follow the advice that I give every episode. Do not make decisions when you're in a heightened state. Pause. So what you do is pause and say, oh my goodness, my heart's racing, my stomach's clenched, or I'm feeling a lot of sexual desire towards this person, or I'm really angry and want to punch them in the nose, or whatever is going on. You say to yourself, I am not in a good state to do this. So I need to wait until I calm down. Go for a walk, do whatever you need, do some meditation, put some music on, dance around the house, do whatever you need to remain calm so that you cannot make a decision in a heightened state. When was the last time you did that? When was the last time you made a decision in a heightened state? What happened? And when was the last time you made a decision after calming down? Think about which one worked better. If you're like me and you're getting to the age where your body just hurts all the time, then listen up. Don't reach for another painkiller until you learn about this little known turmeric hack for pain and inflammation. You've probably already heard about turmeric being used to fight inflammation and joint pain. But here's the thing. Not all turmeric is created equal. Regular turmeric powder in your pantry might help a little, but a leading pain doctor from Connecticut discovered a special turmeric extract that is 200 times more powerful than what you'd find in standard turmeric. And when he started sharing his turmeric hack with his patients, the results were shocking. This turmeric extract attacks pain at the source, turning it off like a light switch so that pain not only goes away, it stays away. Dr. Josh, the brains behind it all, has spent over 20 years helping hundreds of thousands of Americans finally break free from constant aches and stiffness. And his turmeric hack has been the backbone of their success. Say goodbye to expensive surgeries, pain injections, or ineffective over-the-counter medications, and say hello to pain-free living. This is incredible stuff. Once I started taking it on a regular basis, I really noticed a difference. But again, you can't just take any old turmeric. So if you want to learn more about Dr. Josh, his turmeric hack, and the exact method for how to use it in your daily routine, just go to goldenrevive.com/dailycloud. The link is right below this video in the description. Just click it and start your journey towards pain-free, healthier life. Now, as I said, we're experiencing technical difficulty. You know what? I actually take it as a good sign. I don't know about you, but often when something is really important, it'll have what I call flotsam and jetsam associated with it. It'll have little things go wrong. So I was just told by my producer that X is back live and it's working again. So hopefully you are able to get through. People are starting to come on board. If you are coming on board now, please watch the recorded version of the show so you see the beginning. You can watch it on Daily Cloud. I'm going to repost the show on my X feed at Dr. Dina1, so you can watch it there. Or you can go on Rumble. Rumble has all of the episodes, so you can watch it, and I want you to watch it anyway, because again, next week, we're going to play a game based on what I'm showing you this episode, not because I think you're dumb, but because I know how the brain works. And if we play a game and actually apply what we learn, we are far more likely to embed it in those parts of the brain that awaken during heightened circumstances. So by playing a game, you're more likely to remember what's going on, even if you're upset by what you see or what's going on, or you're angry, or you feel sexual desire, or whatever. So watch the recording. We're going to have fun with it. Now, here is the influence superpower: saturation. So many people wonder, why are so many smart people buying into absolute nonsense? Logic and ration would say that doesn't add up. It's quite obvious, and yet they believe it, and yet they support it. Why? Saturation. Everywhere they go, their brain is inundated with consistent messaging. Now, this little picture I took from social media after some hardworking person went and gathered information from newscasts across the country, and they took the snippet where everybody across the country was making the same comments about the same things, word for word. It's like if you watch any show in the I'd say from about 2008 to about 2015, first of all, you never saw anybody that was the main character of the show who had an opposition to gay relationships or illegal aliens in the country. With the illegal aliens, they always said the same words: they're looking for a better life. You kept hearing that over and over and over again. So they made everyone feel like a bad person for saying, well, wait a minute, is that fair to the people who came here legally? And Don't we have a right to screen who comes in our country? Don't we have a right to screen who's using our tax money and our resources and taking up space in our schools, in emergency rooms? Don't we have a right to ask how much these people are costing us? None of that was ever mentioned. You saw the same consistent messaging over and over and over again. So, all supporting a single perspective with attention and affection and appreciation. Here we have Dylan Mulvaney. Somebody decided to take this mentally ill, medically underweight, needy of attention man, put him in women's clothes, and make him the poster for trans identifying males. He even got face feminization surgery. I will bet you money as soon as trans is no longer trendy, he's going to actually get surgery to change his face back. There was no indication he was trans, but it was getting people attention, so that's how he went. And all you see from mainstream media sources is how great these people are. Stunning and brave, we hear. They're given awards. He was given an award for what? Really? Now, here's something else that's important to remember when you're talking about saturation and why it matters. Not only is your brain constantly being inundated with information with a single message, there's the illusory truth effect. Repeated exposure to false information, and your brain is inclined to start accepting it as truth. It's not your fault. It's how the brain's designed. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It's how the brain is designed. And it's why Massachusetts, the state with the most well-educated people, also has the most indoctrinated people. They all go to the same top universities where all of their professors are singing from the same song sheet, and they have been indoctrinated in an intense way for decades, some of them. Saturation of an ideology, of a belief, or a way of thinking, a way of doing something, it can easily start overriding your critical thinking and increase the likelihood that you will accept whatever it is. And keep in mind something I've mentioned before, one of your brain's main function is to help you adapt so that you stay with the crowd, because again, in traditional times throughout most of human history, to be isolated from the group makes you vulnerable to being attacked. And I'm going to tell you something, even now, there are so many mental and physical health conditions related to social isolation. So there's a part of our brain, a primal part, that really wants us to fit in. And if fitting in means accepting lies, and because you don't want to tell yourself, I'm just lying to stay in with these people over here, you'll try to convince yourself it's true, and your brain will try to convince yourself it's true. Our brain is not always our friend. Anybody who's raise your hand, anybody gone on a diet before? You go on a diet, and then what happens? Your metabolism slows. Your body says, oh, I'm starving. I'm trying to get my t-shirt straight. Your body says, oh, I'm starving. So it lowers your metabolism. It's just not right. Now, I wrote to Matt. His name is Matt Van Swal. It sounds Dutch, but he's an American guy who lives in the Carolinas. And he has a huge following. He's a former nuclear scientist. He has over 277,000 followers on X. And he comes out and admits to everyone how astounded he was when, they had the floods in North Carolina, and he was seeing the difference between what was being said in the media and by the mainstream people, by the left people of which he belonged, and what was going on the ground. He was watching these people living in tents, not being helped, while we sent hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars, supposedly to the Ukraine, but wouldn't help The people in North Carolina, one of our own states, one of our oldest states, Biden wouldn't go visit and reassure the people, nothing. So he started saying, wait a minute, why is the mainstream media behaving the way I think? And started looking. Now here's this guy, nuclear scientist. So we're talking a smart guy. And he was just as brainwashed as everyone else. So if you can read that, it says, he talked about saturation. That's the news. That's your coworkers. That's your dating life. That's the TV at the gym. That's the push notifications on your phone. So he's talking about the same narrative, the same ideals constantly inundating you. And then you read these stories every single day. It's everywhere. It's the same story. If the same story was being repeated by everyone, there's no chance it could be false, right? He also talks about his beliefs about Trump, his wrong beliefs about Trump based on the lies. We have a media that will blatantly lie to us. And I worry because so many people that I know still believe it. That's all they expose themselves to. They're saturated with this information. And so they buy into it. So here's the shielding strategy. Number 2 for saturation. Diversify your information sources. So don't rely on only CNN, MSNBC, even X. Don't rely on any one source to get your information. It's why I also look to see what people are up to on Blue Sky, otherwise known as Blue Cry. But I get yelled at a lot over there, but I still go and look. Seek opposing views. When people have opposing views, actually, it's kind of unsettling. That's cognitive dissonance. So it's unsettling when somebody doesn't agree with you. Stop for a second. Don't react. And then take a deep breath and say, okay, let me check out to see if they have a valid point. Because number 3, you're going to fact check. That's how you keep saturation from overwhelming you and leading you down a wrong path. Priming. This is information we pass, barely notice. It's at the bottom of our screen. We don't really pay attention to it. And we think, I'm not even looking at that. Social psychologists have found that it's still hugely influential on what we like, what we dislike, what we believe, what we think. And if you go online to the Decision Lab, they have an article called Priming Explained that will talk about this if you want more details. Priming involves the intentional activation of concepts, categories, or emotions. So you say something, show something, do something, have a little short ad designed to evoke emotions or make somebody angry or, make somebody feel desperate or say, hey, this is new. Here's a simple example that's used all over the media, all over the internet to explain priming. Priming by having that yellow circle and saying, tell me 3 fruit names. Just the fact that circle is yellow has primed you, and you are far more likely to pick yellow fruit. So what kind of categories do we have with priming? We have perceptual. So if you see the word boat written and somebody shows you a list of words, you're more likely to pick out goat because it's got this, pattern. It's similar except for one word. Semantic, a related item. So if you see a picture of a doctor, you're more likely to notice the nurse or any other healthcare provider. And effective. So this is something that's done to arouse your emotions in order to get you to think something, do something, say something, believe something. Priming is incredibly powerful, even though you can think of priming as what is being noticed by your brain out of the side of your eye that it's not drawing your attention to, but it's nonetheless taking in and it's using it to make decisions. It's designed to influence without conscious awareness or intention. So this is the stuff that's designed to be sneaky, to influence you in a sneaky way. Again, I told you social psychology is a really evil science. Okay. Now, this is something we're going to talk about more in a little while with one of our other categories. Masked priming. This is when you flash a word or an image really quickly and you're too quickly for your conscious mind to register it. And when studies have been done, they found that your blood pressure, your cognitive patterns, your neural pathways still register and react to what you see. Jennifer Everhart, she's a professor at Stanford University. She wrote a wonderful book called Biased. And she talked about the fact that when they flashed images of black males who looked like this, that people's blood pressure went up, that the adrenaline went up, aspects of their physiology that react to threat were actually aroused, even if this image was flashed too quickly for people to even realize that it was there. Isn't that interesting? So the shielding strategy to priming. Pause to reflect before you make a choice. Ask yourself, was priming used? And then if you think about it, sometimes you can remember where you saw that little ad or the little picture at the side of at the bottom of the web page you were looking at, or the film that you were watching online, or whatever. Sometimes you can pick it up. Mask priming, not so much, but again, we're going to talk about that in a little bit later. Messages while moving around. Here we have some Hitler Youth marching through, and the Boy Scouts do the same, and they usually have a song that they sing with concepts that they want to embed in the minds of the young people that they have working out. Moving while thinking embeds the information. You may not know this. The brain processes visual and verbal stimuli more readily when you're in an active state. It's one of the reasons why when I find information in a book that I hold and look at, because again, I've said they found that you remember the information, it goes more deeply if you actually hold a book versus an electronic book. I have a Kindle, but if I find something really interesting in a Kindle, I get a hard copy of the book. I get a paperback or hard copy of the book and read that. If it's really interesting and I need to know, I get the audio version and I listen to it as I walk around, go for my walks every day, or as I'm doing housework. So you actually learn information better and more thoroughly if you're moving while you're ingesting it. It's why, again, in my workshops, seminars, I have people do little movement, even just changing seats, standing up, just even rocking back and forth, anything. It will embed the information more deeply. Mental imagery formed during movement enhances memory retention. So if you want to remember something, find a way to turn it into a song, or find a way of having that information play back to you while you're moving. And here's something, note of caution, exclamation point. This is why it's so important what they have on those screens when you're working out at the gym. Again, this is stuff that's on the side that you don't necessarily notice is going on. But you become a captive audience for influence if you're doing the elliptical machine with CNN on or MSNBC, and you think you're not even paying attention. Your brain's paying attention. So shielding strategy 4, try to limit your exposure to incompatible news, media, music. That incompatible means incompatible with your values. Doesn't mean my values, your values. So if they're watching, everywhere you go, they've got one sets of shows on or whatever, go out in nature instead. Go someplace that doesn't have a TV on. Try to limit your exposure to it. And then also while you're at it, focus on the task. Focus on your breathing. That will provide some protection from your mind from these influence mechanisms. Okay, picture superiority effect. We've talked about this before and you all know it. It's the reason I put slides. I spend a lot of time putting these slides together for my show. Why do I do it? Because of this. It's also called the visual superiority effect. Information accompanied by a relevant image is far more memorable and impactful. So here's that got milk ad where they had all these sexy women with, the milk mustache, and you see this image, and there's an implication that it's about sex, not about milk. Okay, every guy watching it would pick it up. But having the picture there, you'd be surprised. I'm sure milk sales went up dramatically. And it's why ads with compelling visuals resonate so strongly. Often, if an ad has a compelling visual, you'll remember it and the product, and you'll be positively predisposed toward the product days, months, years afterwards. I think this is absolutely brilliant, where they took all these little individual fish and made them into the shape of a shark. That's really cute, and it's memorable. So now you're going to remember it too. If it's stuck in my head, I'm going to share it, stick it in yours as well. Now, when you have the image plus the words, it causes dual coding in the brain, visual and verbal. So that's why it would be so much simpler if I just talked to the screen. I actually know what I'm doing, and most of the time I don't need notes. This is my field. However, it's not about me. This isn't about me venting. This is about you learning this stuff. So even if you think you're not paying attention to the images that I put them there to increase the probability you'll remember the important key knowledge when you need it. It's always, again, it's why the information on Heart Mind is always accompanied by colorful slides with relevant imagery. But shielding strategy 5, beep, 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 beep. Here we go. Be wary of imagery that catches your attention. Know to yourself, even if I recognize I'm being manipulated, it's still going to work. You just have to just resign yourself. Understand that its purpose is to make a message sticky, which means memorable, which means relevant, which means when you're buying something, you'll be more likely to buy Tylenol instead of some other brand, because the image was so captivating, but also relevant. It's like you're getting hit in the head. So when you see something and say, oh, that's really interesting, when you're buying something or choosing something, if you're inclined towards that product, stop for a second and ask, is this really the best? Does this really meet my needs? Or have I been influenced? We're all influenced, okay? It's nothing to be ashamed of. Okay, here's the really interesting one. All right, guys, all the men are now going to wake up. Here we go. Triggering primal drives, lust, fear, anger, hunger, to increase focus on a message. In other words, sex sells. Everybody knows that. So we've got to look at this one. This is everywhere.
Sydney Sweeney, Hasbro Canes.
Now, this one not only got attention because she is just an incredibly naturally beautiful woman, isn't she? And I love the fact she's not medically underweight. She doesn't have artificial fish lips. She's not wearing huge amounts of makeup. Very natural, just beautiful, and moves with confidence. So most heterosexual guys would automatically notice. What brought extra attention to it, though, is all of the left progressive people who are angry about the ad, calling it Nazism, saying it needs to be wiped out, criticizing her. Now, if when they've had ads for underwear and they've had obese black trans identifying women, so you have a woman's body with a beard, Everybody said, oh, this is diversity. Let's celebrate that. But when you're celebrating someone who is naturally just beautiful and sexy, that's supposed to be a bad thing. Well, their stock is, American Eagle's stock has gone up. They said they've sold out of the jeans that she's wearing. And the controversy has actually brought more attention to the ad, but the ad would have sold anyway because they found a woman just doing something and showing off just a stunning figure, beautiful face. And why can't these other women admit that? I mean, you notice beauty. You don't have to be gay. Don't have a gay bone in my body. And I notice that she's gorgeous. And I've always loved being female because you can tell somebody, you can tell another woman, oh my God, you look beautiful. And nobody says, oh, you're trying to date me. Guys, I know it's a little harder, but she's beautiful. Yeah, sex sells. Here's another way to sell stuff. How many billions of dollars did they get off of little African kids? And I saw someone talking about this yesterday on social media, now having evidence of how many billions of dollars have been stolen by nonprofits who were supposed to be feeding starving kids, so supposed to be helping people harmed by the COVID virus. And the people in charge just stole the money. But this is how they pull at your heartstrings to get you to open your wallet. Stories, images, videos that arouse emotion or trigger drives. They activate the amygdala, which when we do the NLP in my sessions, I always point to the right above the ear, right in the middle of the head. If you cut right through, that's where you get to the amygdala. It's responsible for emotions and some of the natural biological processes, but once it's activated, it's extremely effective. So they're getting you to feel sad and feel guilty. He's starving, we're not. So that you open your wallet and never ask, is this kid really going to get any money from me? Anything that captures your attention and evokes a reaction will get priority in your memory. That's the way the brain is designed because it perceives that information as important. Shielding strategy 6. Notice your reaction. Ask yourself when you're watching these really warm, loving Super Bowl ads, or you're watching Sydney Sweeney, do I really even need those jeans? Do I really have to have, will they look like that on me? Is another good question. And women, you know what I'm talking about, okay? Notice your reaction and ask yourself, what are they trying to sell me? It can get you to hesitate long enough that you don't end up buying something that you really don't need. Okay, now last we're talking about at category 7, subliminal messaging to influence behavior. Masked priming is a type of subliminal messaging because it's purposely flashed to the participants, to the audience, faster than your conscious mind can register. So you don't even know they did it. But your body knows and your brain knows. They are designed. Subliminal messaging is brief messages that bypass the conscious awareness. And it doesn't have to be photos. It can be other things. It can incite both a cognitive and a physiological response. Remember I said when people saw images of these thug-looking black guys, their blood pressure went up, their adrenaline went up. That's a common reaction to a subliminal message. And it doesn't have to be negative. Let me just mention this. I showed a photo and talked about what Jennifer Eberhardt talks about in her book. But if you're over 35, you may remember when advertisers were caught out subtly writing words like sex in the ice cubes that they used in the photo to sell whatever drink they were selling. Any of you can look up Disney animation sexual content, and you will find subtle sexual imagery embedded in Little Mermaid, Aladdin, The Lion King. You consciously don't register it, but subconsciously you do. And it can have a cognitive and physiological response. And keep in mind, it can have both a short and long term effect on decision making. So while you might think, okay, so they did that. When I go to the grocery store, I may pick up whatever. Some of those effects last longer than that. I just want to let you know it's not always going to disappear right away. So when we're talking about um, having this thug imagery for Black men, we need to change the crime rate or that's not going to change. And anybody that's been influenced by that, it's still there. The Democrats are sort of overcompensating by telling you you're a bad person to notice this. At the same time, they're letting criminals out of jail and they're allowing them to prey on people. So they're actually increasing the validity of that imagery. Scratch a Democrat, find a racist. Now, when we're talking about subliminal messaging, there's a showman, an illusionist named Darren Brown, who claims he can read minds, right? He uses priming and subliminal messaging in his registration materials for his show that he later triggers when the person's in the audience and the person's amazed. Oh my God, you told me to pick, pick any cartoon character. Why did I pick Mickey Mouse? Because he was all over the registration materials and you've already been primed. He's very clever. It's done very subtly and it's interesting to watch, but it's also scary. You should be a little alarmed by all of this. So, shielding strategy number 7. Be cautious of rapid visual stimuli. And you notice I have the slot machines there. Those are designed by social psychologists. They are designed to keep you mesmerized, captivated, with a feeling of anticipation and hope, so you do not get up from that machine until you've spent every dollar you have. Okay. But we also see that rapid visual stimuli in those little videos. Often when you go on a website, I know whenever I go on a website, it hooks me with captivating or important information. And you go on the website and it's got all these little videos on the side and on the bottom. As soon as I see that, I turn away. I close it because I know they're trying to influence me. You have to be really cautious of flashing ads. Anytime you're going to make a decision, especially if it's an important choice or a regular choice, like buying water every day. When I taught financial literacy, my colleague, Susan Allen, would do something really interesting. She'd always talk and do this lecture while walking around, drinking from a bottle of water. And then she would pass around a fake $500 and say, I want everybody to stop for a minute. Imagine what you could do with $500. And these are broke folks, okay? So they're all imagining. And then she said, does anybody else ever do this? Buy a water or a soda every day when you go around? And a lot of people are like, yeah. I just want to let you know, if you do it 5 days a week, that's that $500 that you're holding in your hand, that you're spending on something you could get out of the tap. It'd be cheaper to buy a filter and just filter your tap water. So slow down. So that's why I said things you buy regularly, because it may not be a large purchase, but it could still add up. When you're going to buy something, when you're going to choose something, stop for a minute, go for a walk, think about it. Have I been influenced to purchase this? Have I been influenced to think this will work for me? Avoid impulsive actions. If you saw the Sydney Sweeney ad and then went out and bought those jeans, I would say don't do that. First of all, as I said, you probably aren't going to look like she does in them, okay? But can you afford them? Will they look great on you? You're not even stopping to thinking. You're allowing the ad to push you. And they count on that. Now, the good news is These influence methods can be used to learn positive information. I use a lot of these same tactics of influence when you take my workshops. They're very interactive. Even some of the seminars, the longer seminars, I use this because it helps embed the information in the important parts of the brain so you have access to it when you need it. The bad news: the only shielding strategy that really works is avoiding the influence mechanisms. It's why I'm so careful and always tell everybody to be so careful what you watch, what you read. And now you're going to be careful when you go to the gym in an emptier time where you can either turn the TV off or you can decide what's on it. If you're watching something that opposes your values, even out of the side of your eye, it's influencing you. We all have to be really careful. We can only take our world back if we stop being influenced to go along with the bulk of what we've been lied to believe. We've been taught and lied to and told to believe things that are quite destructive on an individual, family, community, social level. I see people going after the most extreme versions and saying, no, don't do that. But if you don't get rid of the rest of it, that's like pulling the leaves off of a weed in your garden. If you don't get rid of the root and the stem, it's coming back. Now, another set of secret and powerful influence methods. Let's just finish up with that. We're going to be a little bit later than expected because we had technical difficulties at the top. Active rather than passive learning. When a very powerful way to influence people is when they're required to do something while they're learning it, having you move around. If you go to cults, they often, like the Hare Krishnas, always had people do a very choreographed dance. And I've seen some of these change your life in a weekend seminars that do the same thing. If you are active instead of passive, the information goes in more deeply. So you can do that with information you want in your head, and you can avoid participating in something where you don't want it in your head. If you are required to participate, notice how politicians always have to participate in pride ceremonies. Nobody ever asked them if it's consistent with their values. I know that working for government, they had so many things saying, we celebrate this. And people didn't have a choice, especially at the executive levels. Being required to participate is a way of indoctrinating you, because most of us are not going to say, I'm too weak to stand up for my beliefs. You're going to say, it is kind of okay. You're going to rationalize. You're going to talk yourself into it, and you're going to go along to get along. And here's a really powerful thing. When they make you apply the endorsed information. I've seen contracts that I've gone for where when you fill out your information, it requires you to put your pronouns, requiring you to participate in something. Your brain is going to adapt to it. If you really want that job, if you really want that situation, you're going to talk yourself into it, convince yourself it's not harmful, and they've got you. You quickly adapt. This is how humanity has survived and thrived. We adapt quickly, and our brain does not ask our permission before it does it. You know how you give permission to your brain to adapt? You expose it to things. This is why saturation is an indoctrination superpower. Because the people behind inundating our lives with a single narrative know that if they saturate our lives with this information, our brains will adapt to it and will stop pushing back. You rationalize as you submit. And again, here's my business. And if you can screenshot it or come back to see the recording, Ethical Strategic Solutions, I use everything I know to help people really learn this information, because we're talking important topics: domestic violence prevention and improved response, healing the rift, non-political anti-bias training. That does not tell you you have to sacrifice your values because I said so. It shows people how to build a cohesive set of a group or team, even if you're different. And yes, it can be done. Gambling harm reduction. How to, if you gamble at all, including buying a lottery ticket or, betting on the Super Bowl, how to do it safely. But we use social psychology, we use cognitive science, we use neurolinguistic programming, otherwise known as NLP. We use all of that so we have better results than the people who just stand in front of the room and give you a PowerPoint presentation with bullet points. Contact me if you want to know how I can help you. Any questions or comments? As I said, I know this has been a tough one with the technical difficulties and all, but I'm grateful for anybody watching. Please, if you have a question or comment, look at the recorded version, go on Rumble, go on Daily Cloud, go on YouTube, and then write your question or comment. I go through and read it. If you have a topic, go through and read it. Now, all of this is important because next week we're taking these same concepts and we're going to turn it into a game. Okay? Because I want you to really understand and know this information, not just in your frontal lobe, but in your limbic system, in your amygdala, in your emotions, in your primal drives, in the reptilian part of the brain, in the back. I want you to know it on all levels. So we're going to make it a fun game, but you're going to walk away so knowledgeable, so much smarter than everybody else. So I will thank you for being here in spite of the technical difficulties. Thank you for being here, for watching this show. If you find value in this show, please go on X, go on Daily Cloud, go on Facebook Daily Cloud page and say, I was really helped by this. I think this is a great idea. That's the only way I can stay on the air. I need your support. So, as mentioned, because of the technical difficulties, and I do this often anyway, I'm going to be downloading this. So if you go to @DrDina1 on X, I'm going to have the recording of the show. So if you missed the beginning, or you want to go through the concepts again, or you want some clarification, you can watch it on my page. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next Tuesday because, as promised, no more boring Tuesdays. See you then. I'm Dr. Dina McMillan. Thanks for joining me.